Hi.
Alex, this is the first time we've been on screen again in a minute.
Alone together. Oh my
I
God.
know. Back together again. Hello, everybody, for sharing in this wonderful one. Hello. Hey, Kelsey. Hey, chat. Welcome to another episode of Call Live. We're your hosts today, Dylan and Alex, and of course, we've got a wonderful guest hiding in the wings here that we're going to bring in just here in a little bit. But I'm going to come in and just say, welcome, everybody. Get comfortable. Make sure you're getting in the chat. I know we're expecting Belford and loud, verbose voices and things like that, but y'all, I'm kind of tired. It's been a long holiday, so we're keeping it pretty chill. It's Monday. We're about to coast into another work day, and oh, good God, let's not talk about that. But I do want to talk about some Schmoedown. Alex, how you feeling about Schmoedown right now?
Schmoedown lately, to be completely honest, it's kind of been I have been kind of late to the game as far as watching Schmoedown lately, with everything going on with the holiday and everything. And my gosh, I do not want to do anything when it's hot outside. I just feel like the Wicked Witch of the West, and I would melt into a puddle.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel that vibe of seeing those people who are putting out umbrellas and like parasols and stuff like that. I think I butchered that name, but the idea, like whenever you're under your umbrella because it's just too hot. I'm starting to get that concept more and more as time goes on with it. Mm-hmm. But I think it also has to do with like
I would love to wear a parasol. I mean, like it would be like Mary Poppins style, like
right. You just float on off and do all of that.
Perfect in every way.
But we've got a week slate full of Schmoedown to talk about, and we also have a guest to want to sit here and talk about with as well. So, do we want to go ahead and bring on, or do we want to?
Oh my gosh, let's bring him on up! I'm so excited.
Oh my God, I'm so excited, guys! We did it! I'm so excited to be here.
Yes.
Hello.
Thank you so much, David.
And, oh my God, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. I love the opening banner and the music and all that stuff. I was kind of like, oh shit, what kind of show am I in? All right, let's get into it. So thanks for having me.
Well, we knew you. I mean, like you're like an actor and you're used to like top notch stuff, and so we were like, we gotta amp it up. For
real digital fire. We gotta use real digital fire. Yeah.
We had the red carpet rolled out. We had all that graphic. all of this is specifically for you. If you listen, you want to see what it looks like regularly, tune into Twitch Tuesdays tomorrow on the C2A Twitch channel, and you'll see vast difference. So trust me, if you want to see what the red carpet looks like, this is it, David. This is it.
I feel so honored and loved to be here. So thanks again for having me.
Thank you overall. We are going to be diving into your match here pretty soon, but we're going to be going over the other few matches first. So guys, over in the chat, if you're not aware, there was a few really cool matches that dropped this week. First being Khan up against Ben Goddard. The next being would be the Barbarian up against Drew McWeeny. I don't know if you've heard of those guys, so definitely no big deal. But we're going to be saving the big man here on screen, Mr. David Del Rio, with his match up against Frank Moran at the very end. So if you have any questions or anything like that, please let us know in his Streamlab or anything like that, and we can definitely ask it on screen to him.
Mm-hmm. But without further ado, let's get into some of the matches. We started this week with Ben Goddard versus King Khan himself, and I'll tell you, this was an interesting match. We're seeing the rookies of the exchange do their continued work, and maybe again Asian bias. I'm always going to sit there and say, of course, the Asian players performed exceptionally well, and we came out. Spoiler: if you haven't catch all these matches already, you should probably have watched them before you're tuning in tonight. King Khan comes away with the W in this one. We get a win over Ben Goddard and another crushing defeat on the Den's behalf. Man,
was it technically a TKO or was it a KO? I can't remember.
I believe it was a TKO, but I don't have my notes in front of me, and I also hopped in last second with it. So
boy, that boy was good.
Yeah,
that boy was good. I do remember watching it, and you can kind of tell. You never want to underestimate the game ever, right? And when a manager says, "How do you feel?" and all that stuff. You always kind of want to get into a point of going, if you do feel good, there's still round 2 and there's still round 3 to be had. However, you can actually really tell in terms of the gameplay, the confidence a little bit, the how early someone writes into a whiteboard when they're hearing the questions, where you're like, oh, okay, this one's a fighter, and I felt that way watching that match. I don't know if I was supposed to jump in on that. I didn't mean to interrupt, but yes.
Whenever you feel comfortable. Yeah, this is very, very laid back. I mean, trademark chill. I think we can coin that one for this podcast on this stuff. Yeah. Very laid back talking whenever we feel with it. But yeah, chat coming in, correcting me, guys. I know chat, and especially where you at, Leo Logan. No TKO. You're right. We had I know Colin had to at least get into his 2 or something like that. It was very close to a TKO. And guys, feel free to correct me again. Like, we watch these matches. It's been a long weekend, so our brains are a little fried. When we're getting the triple matches and then some with pay-per-views on that one, my memory, my crystal clear memory is not what it used to be at this age. So. But yeah, Leo, please make sure to let us know on this one. He's not, he comes in himself and says Goddard is not having a good sophomore season. I agree. David, I kind of want to pitch this one to you because I know we're talking about sophomore seasons and stuff like that, and you've been in the game for a little bit longer than that aspect. But I feel like since your first match this season, we're not going to leap right into it just yet. How do you feel like the landscape has changed now with all the factions being in place and now it being really such a drastic change as far as the game that you originally came into it with?
Let's not call it faction. Let's call it a support system.
That's true.
Right. When I was a kid, I used to find people to play movie trivia with, and some of part of it. Sorry.
Oh, work.
Well, what I was going to say was that the idea of sometimes I would bring it up to knowing that I was going to win, and then there are other times where I really wanted a challenge. And I guess I've always dreamed of an organization that grows into the sport of movie trivia. And I think what's happening with the reputation as well as the brand name of the movie trivia Schmoedown, from where it was from just a nice little game show in Collider to a really its own big entity, and the more growth that's happening, and the more serious they take this game as a functional business of entertainment, is something that I really like seeing.
Right. And I agree. I think that the more you see it legitimized, that it's the bigger stakes, it's the bigger thrills. For me, it's always that dream concept of, all right, let's get to that size where people can full-time be like trivia athletes in this way, right? Because obviously you guys all have independent lives and things going on. And, not to say that if it wasn't like, all right, David Del Rio, actually, here's a fun question. All right, 2 opportunities, right? Schmoedown now pays salary, benefits, the whole 9 yards, right? We're a fully functioning business at this point. You are obviously you've got an acting career on your side on that one, but they're like, we want you full-time trivia. You got to do these questions. You got to get into it. You do this.
Study, training.
24.
Yeah.
I
guess that's a good question. I mean, just to be upfront and, I guess non-clever, I'll just go right to the point in terms of like, I've been doing what I've been doing for a very long time. And I really do enjoy being a student of film. It kind of melds into my work anyway. So I got to say, I don't know if I got the call to say full-time benefits this, It's a very interesting question. It's a very interesting question that I would have to decide. But I think what right now, my schedule meeting with, John Kaiser kind of, and Christian Harloff working with my schedule, which is not a kind of thing that's like, oh, can we work with your schedule and all that stuff? They give me days and, we kind of collaborate and find a good day. But, this kind of certain schedule of going on set and then playing some geniuses is a good, it's a good life right now. So that's a hard question, Dylan. That's a hard question.
Oh yeah.
Damn, you're coming in hot, literally.
I know,
listen, and I'm surrounded by digital fire.
Well, something I'm kind of curious about, David, overall, is that When you watch matches, I know we're meant to do the interview and everything towards later on and everything, obviously. But when you're watching a match, like as a fan specifically, do you ever feel like, especially when you're watching like rookies and competitors like Ben Goddard and Khan and everything, do you watch and like, are you taking notes? Are you playing along? Or are you just watching strictly as a fan specifically? Are you like thinking about the strategy or anything involved?
I'm playing along. Simple. I'm just playing along. I don't usually think that there is a system with the questions. One regularity that I keep seeing is, the first question is action adventure, so I kind of get prepped a little bit for that. And just mindset, right? And kind of knowing that that's about to happen. Now, whoever's watching, they're like, we're going to give them horror right off the gate. But I just watch. I just watch and answer the questions and just kind of make sure that I'm, fresh in my mind and, see people take a long time with their answers, knowing that they're giving a show, or when I know that they're kind of being, a showman or showwoman or just being really genuine and trying to figure out what the answer is. But I just listen to the questions and I answer it, and I don't tally and stuff like that. I just really just get it into my brain and into my blood in terms of what I know and what I don't know. I kind of really do trust the memory bank that I do have. But I do realize a lot of the times that there is a lot that I need to work on in that way too. So, it does pop up into my mind going, man, like they're 10 years younger than me and they know way more about the 80s films than I do. It's stuff like that pop up into my brain that I get to notice. And when next time I get to work with Kaiser, those are things that I bring up. Here are the things that I've noticed in the matches. Here are the things that I definitely know that I'm weak on, and let's drill. But to answer your question, yeah, I just watch and enjoy, and then just play along, really.
Yeah, and you mentioned confidence in there as well, and I think that's something that I imagine it as a player watching from a kind of fan perspective in a way, when you're not in that match and you're just getting to enjoy people play off, or more if it's a tag match. I wonder what that confidence does for you, because you famously came off the last match before this one was your match against Chance, who has long since gone on to be a multi-time champion and gone
incredible
reign with it. So this
incredible,
literally one of my favorite matches of the season.
Oh yeah, and it was
like in my top 5.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, that match.
Yeah, you're in Chance.
That match in particular. I was like,
okay, cool.
You guys won in overtime, like 6 points.
Right, and it was just such a pleasant surprise.
And like I just didn't know what to expect going into it. And so when the points just kept climbing, and I was like, oh shit, it's just still going. Oh my gosh.
Hey, listen, the way that you're acting right now is the way that I was definitely in here the whole match. You know what I mean? And I do remember, and I keep saying this, they use clips of me saying this, but I really do mean it. I hadn't played for a long time up until that point. I think I lost to Liz Shannon Miller before then, or Paul Preston, one of the two, who are great fantastic players. Right. Yeah, great competitors. And I remember when they told me I was playing against Chance, and I was like, so is this a punishment?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you want me to get out of the gates to embarrass myself? Like, what's the message here? And I guess I was just as shocked. I just had the right questions, and these are things that I know. And I had to, I'll never forget Suburban Commando ever again, and actually I've heard that question come up even more after that. Right. That was a really great match. And, Chance and I still DM each other. We compliment each other's matches, and really, really, really cool dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for me, I want to tying it back into, the Khan and Goddard match, we start to see some of these rookies and players coming in, or, in Goddard's case, a sophomore year player, this is his second season in. And, I wonder what confidence does for you in that match. And, we're talking a little bit into discussion. Khan very much has obviously winning the match, but going into it, he feels like a rookie with a lot of confidence and a sense of stride to him in this. I think that's true of a lot of the Finnish Stock Exchange rookies, honestly. They feel very, nowadays, and rookies come in and they're very versed in the game. I think that we're past the years of a rookie coming in and not even knowing what the game is or how to navigate JTEs appropriately and things like that. Feels like everybody's very much a student of the game nowadays. And I wonder, how that transgresses for you.
Yeah, I think for me, I looked at IMDb back when it was a list website.
Mm-hmm.
It was strictly a filmography website. And I've told this story before, but when my cinephilia really tapped in when I was taken to go see Wag the Dog when I was 14, 13. Why they decided to take me to a political satire, I never know, because I didn't know what the hell was going on. Exactly. I bring the whole family. However, I think as kids who want to be actors, 13, 12, 11, with Colombian fathers and uncles, get to see The Godfather when they're 10, 11. Mm-hmm. And that just goes with the contract of being a Colombian Cuban who wants to be an actor. And basically, I knew who Robert De Niro was, and I didn't know who the other guy was. And my mom said, well, that's Captain Hook. And my mind was blown. It was just, it just opened a floodgate of, it felt like Inside Out, the Pixar Inside Out. It was just like, boom, and everyone was kind of going into the controls and going like, what the heck is going on with him? That kind of thing. Right. And so that's a long answer to get to the idea that ever since I was 14, I was interested in who was in what, how it was being directed, who was directing it, who produced it, who almost got cast in it, how many times have these actors worked together, what did they work on before, what did they work on after, was it a better movie than their previous and their movie next was better than this one, those kind of things I really got interested in. So I found my sport. And so the confidence kind of comes in, and not that I can win, but really comes in that I can be a competitor. Because this really is something that I love. This really is a game of mine. And as I said before, I've always been proud to be a part of a sport that they take movie trivia as much as I did, and listen, I don't think I'm even close to, I really don't think I'm even close to like really just the best of the best out there. However, I do know I can play with them. And that within itself just keeps me in a balanced place to sit, listen to the question. And if I don't know it, I know there's other ways and other things in my mind that I can tap into to figure out at least a good guess. You know what I mean? So, except for like the ones like, when you ask a question of misery and, what was the animal saying there? I don't know, fucking dolphin, like that, that kind of thing, and that kind of guesses, whatever. But when you think about actors, when you think about directors, when you think about ears, which is something I still need to work on, you kind of sit back and knowing, well, this is what I know, I used to joke around with people when they would watch the Super Bowl and going, guys, but here's the thing, nominations come out tomorrow. So who's coming to my house at 5 a.m. for those? You know what I mean? I know Alex will, I know Dylan will, that kind of thing. We'll have a party about that. That's really, who I am. I mean, just today, working on a screenplay with my wife and producing partner, and we're talking about just this little aspect, just a little thing. And we went to film school together, in that moment, we went to film school. We got Hulu up, watched a scene from Skyfall, and we brought up Netflix, and we watched a scene from There Will Be Blood and The Master. As a cinephile, it taps into the work that I get to do. So the confidence comes in with just knowing I found my sport, not that I am here to just beat the crap out of a competitor, And I guess that is my quote unquote, character or personality. Like I'm not interested, really to start any fights and talk crap. I just want to play, really, and I respect the game, and I respect I respect the people working on it. I also respect the announcers. You know, I have good respect with them where, you know, I am the guy who goes up and shakes hands. You know what I mean? That kind of physical thing kind of takes me out of my nervousness a little bit and really, really into the game.
Mm.
Well, it sounds like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, so, and I know with that duality of personality and having that respect for the game and respect for the players, while also being on the dungeon, you know, famously led by Kaiser and having so much, you know, attitude and personality in that one, you know, that's something I definitely do want to, we're going to bookmark it because that's definitely a conversation that we'll be returning to very here soon. Alex, you had a thought though.
Well, I was just thinking, well, tying it back to the Goddard and King Khan match in particular. Now, I think this is technically your third season, I want to say. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I would say
third season.
Yeah.
Obviously, however, which is really weird to me, and I know you're a busy guy, you have a lot going on with your career, obviously. You're very in demand, especially when it comes to Schmoedown. And I remember a lot of conversations when draft came up being like, who's going to pick him up? Who's going to pick him up in particular? Because a lot of people, he's played so few matches. So people don't think of you automatically when it comes to really amazing competitors with untapped potential, that kind of thing. It just needs to find the right manager. It was more like who's going to pick him up first, because a lot of people, well, at the time, I remember talking to a lot of fans and everything, and they would be like, who's David Del Rio? And I'm like, do you not remember these kick-ass matches? They were like, oh shit. They were like, oh yeah, it's fantastic. And it just came down to how people just like forgot, I think, how great of a competitor you are. And then it became more of an afterthought, which really kind of frustrates me a little bit. But that's another conversation now. I think about it for another day. But again, tying it back to the Goddard Khan match in particular. Now this is your third season playing in Schmoedown. How do you look at a rookie, someone like Khan that's now technically 2-0 with 1 or 2 TKOs or whatever his technical record is now? How do you look at a competitor like him versus someone like you that's played in a handful of matches over the past few years and seen Schmoedown transform?
Taking a little bit more time to study is when I see a player like that. Not for the sake of competing, and not for the sake of beating, but for the sake of studying. When I see someone like Khan really pull out some really impressive pulls, and really impressive answers, that jolts me in a way that kind of goes, okay, I'm gonna watch, I'm gonna do some research, I'm gonna just do some research over here, that kind of thing. And I love to see passion. I love to see drive in the game, and so I kind of really got a good sense of that, because that really is something that you can feed off when you're on the stage or when you're in the game. I don't really consider myself someone who is a veteran in the movie trivia Schmoedown, so I still kind of feel like a rookie, to be perfectly honest. The idea that I had with that I had a match with Chance just made me feel like, oh, so who wasn't available, and so I didn't think it was like a bracket, if you will, that right. Match, whatever. I was just kind of like, why is this even happening? And then, my second year, I just barely played, didn't know why, didn't know really what happened. I was patient and going, hey, what's going on? That kind of thing. And I guess maybe it just didn't work out, or they didn't find a spot or a match for me, which is okay. So again, I haven't really, I don't feel like I've been into the middle of a competitor ring, a serious competitor. You know what I mean? I think last match was a really great message. I think last match was one of those things that served my expression of hunger, and then sort of I just got some great questions, and I got an opponent's choice, you know, and I think again, I still feel like I haven't been playing for 3 years, really, or 3 seasons, if you will. I still feel like I still need to get my feet wet and get some more matches in me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ferris, he's mentioned it a few times in the chat, and because I totally agree with Ferris, and then with him when he mentions these things, him falling so low in the draft was criminal. Get David more matches, and Jesse Swift, an IG competitor over with Quirky Mercs, even said, "David, I shake your hand." And so I definitely,
That's nice.
It's like I can definitely see where you're coming from. Like you said, you don't feel like technically a veteran competitor, even though you technically are, considering how many seasons you've been a part of it, because you've had so few matches, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Right. Where you're like, what's going on? And I don't know if they forgot about you or whatever the situation was, because that hurts my heart.
Right. And I know it doesn't get any easier with especially how big the factions are now and how many people are coming into the league with all that. We are in an abundance of talent. You know, and speaking of abundance of talent and respect and things like that, I think I want to use that as a good transition for going into the next match we're here to discuss, the Godfather Drew McWeeny against the Barbarian, Craig Barbarian. And again, talking about abundances of talent. Good Lord, when I saw this match on the bracket on the schedule this past week, I was just like, oh my gosh. Because again, speaking about incredibly, you know, like talented players who maybe always haven't had like their chance to really show off what they got, at least in singles division. You know, we have both of these people, I think, fall in that category. Barbarian's one of these ones who, while being very touted last season and even this season, we haven't really seen much of. You know, I feel very spirit animal with you in that way, David, where it's just like we know there's strong talent, but they haven't got a chance to get into these matches just yet. And then Drew McWeeny, who, again, famously struggles in that singles division showing, and, you know, this was going to be a big match no matter what way you looked at it. But I guess I'll pass it to, you know, Alex and David both. You know, going into that match with just impressions in mind, what was your thought process, and how did the journey of that match take you?
Sorry, go ahead.
Please. No, please.
I did want to mention real quickly, we did get Streamlabs from Nancy Rodriguez. So thank you so much, girl. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much. She's Eric's Neurochronic sister, if you didn't know. She's wonderful in every single way. She beat me recently in a Video Chronic match on one of my favorite animated movies. We're back, so I'm not angry at all or anything. No question. Just want to say, Spares Parts is such a wonderful movie that hits home. I love it. You're great in it, David.
Oh my God, that is so sweet. You don't hear a lot of fans of, or a lot of admirers of Spare Parts, and that really was a near and dear project. I mean, I think that was my first biopic. You know, I mean, I don't know why I did air quotes. It really is based on a true story,
right?
You know, with a lot of rewrites, but it was my first biopic, and I definitely did take that role, you know, very seriously, and yeah, I really appreciate it. It's very nice of you.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for your comment. We love it.
Much
So going into this match in particular with the Craig and with Barbarian up against Drew McWeeny. Now, I know you said you prior to going live, you're not always super familiar with storylines and everything when it comes to each of the competitors' history, which makes total sense because nowadays it feels so expansive. It's almost overwhelming trying to remember the character histories for every single person going into a match. How did you feel about each of these competitors going into this match and one in particular, David?
First of all, I don't envy the producers of Movie Trivia Schmoedown. You know, I think it's just a lot to keep up with, and they do it just so streamlined, just so very well. I mean, look at all the fans that are just loving it, you know, and so that's a big kudos to, you know, the behind the scenes people kind of making those storylines streamlined, because again, that's an everyday job. That is an everyday job, you know. I mean, considering all the competitors that, you know, that are playing, you know, I saw the YouTube picture, and I was like, oh boy, this is a heavyweight match. You know what I mean? These are real aspiring, competitors to me. And you go into it kind of having an expectation of, for me, an expectation of the first 2 rounds going super well.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that sort of understanding, and I kind of don't remember, I'm sorry, what happened in the second match. However, that first was just like, what you expect, from that kind of thing. So you wanted to kind of take a step back. Perfect. And as you know what I mean? And you want to take a step back and you want to sit back and relax and just you want to know if you know the questions, because you're kind of okay with thinking that they know it, you know what I mean? Assuming that they know kind of everything. So you just want to see if you can kind of keep up. But it's just one of those matches that you really watch for the third round. You're not going to get a TKO with those guys or a KO. You're just not. You're going to get a real show all the way to the third round, and boy, did we get one. Yeah. The way that match ended was why the Schmoedown is such a great competitive sport. You could be just perfect the whole way, and it's that last question.
Watch any Star Wars match.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
If you lose one question,
yeah,
like you're done.
Some of these divisions are just getting so, and this is what I really enjoy out of the singles division. For a long time, as much as I love it, I feel like it was one of the ones that I had the least entertainment value of, just because it felt like Inner Geekdom and Star Wars was such like an intricate, detailed one that one question swung the entire match with it, and singles had a little bit more leeway. Thankfully, over time, the game's definitely shaped up, and so is the competition with it. So singles division is really packed in to feeling very similar to some of these other divisions. It's that one question miss could really cost the whole match. But we talk about the third round, and that is definitely where a lot of the meat and potatoes of the discussion for this match has come out of. There is this famous challenge coming in now from this week, because I feel like now every week has a relevant challenge in a match, where, yes, I know, challenges in this Schmoedown era. No.
I love challenges. They're so much fun.
I love challenges too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So So we have McWeenie on Leo Logan. If you're in the chat, I'm sure you can remind me. I'm pretty sure it's a 3-point question, but if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. We're in the 3-point question, and McWeenie answers it. Before any ruling confirmations come through, he says, "Wait, no, that was the character. It's True Grit," and they're starting to want to roll on through. And Sam Levine, you could just tell that if you're a fan, you can already start to see like, oh, that's going to get challenged, isn't it? And I kind of like that there's that vibe there to begin with, because for me, I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, there's no way Sam's leaving that on the table. He's crazy if he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
That was a spine straightener at that point. You know what I mean? You're like,
oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just that little the stutter and the correction of it was just like what's going to happen next, and picked up on it immediately.
Right, and I like these challenges that don't necessarily have a direct precedence as a ruling, right? And I guess this one, there could be an argument to say, well, nobody said final answer on McNeil's part, and none of the announcers said that's incorrect or began to lean into sitting there and saying one way or the other. So I think the challenge comes in, and we're sitting here discussing, is McWeenie fine enough to sit there and be able to say, hey, I corrected it before any time was allotted? And to McWeenie's credit, he answers his stuff very quickly. He doesn't go until 3, 2, 1, 0.
5 seconds later.
No, yeah, it was about a couple seconds into the question, plenty of time to be left on there, and we get the question in. And for this match, Ty Lieberman tags in for manager, and I like that their counter argument is just that they're like, I don't know, we really haven't got anything for it.
Okay, so it's matches like these. I was very surprised that Craig didn't have a manager, not a real manager anyway. he had a cool friend there to support him, but that was it. I love Tyler Lieberman, by the way. I really do. I actually really enjoy his character, but that man is not a manager, and that's totally fine. This is like his first season. I don't expect him to manage. But Sam Levine, I think I'm going to echo something Andrew Guy actually mentioned when he did his breakdown of this in particular, because he says one of the big reasons why Drew McQueenie's it went the way it did is not because he was right. Actually, they probably should have went in favor of Craig. Was actually because Sam Levine said it so confidently. He talked about how cut and dry it's not in the rule book. Mm. And it's still a really, really blurred area. And he did correct himself. And Andrew Guy even mentioned that I did give a little bit of hesitation. And he said, according to the rules, technically he should be counted wrong. And honestly, and I do think that the commentators, the hosts and everything, they're human. They also fuck up and everything as well on occasion. There have been numerous matches in the past where they say something incorrect or they misjudge. Or I remember there was like a match where Sam Levine, he even had I don't know if it was a championship match or just one of his matches where he literally went like, this is the answer. And Christian literally went, you sure?
Right.
And he was like, wait, no.
Right. Or what just happened to or what just happened to Bateman. Yeah. You know, when you're asked about the Jack Nicholson directing and it's one of those titles with a comma in the middle. Mm-hmm. Drive.
He said, right.
He said, there we go. The Drive. He said
the way he said it at all of them because he thought he didn't. I don't think Ellis realized that he was asking legitimately.
And by the way, that was a great calling too. And I think that I always do respect the hosts kind of mentioning and taking accountability for their I never know what happens though in challenges though, like behind the challenges, like how many people go around the table, how many people are involved. Right. You know what I mean? Like I always wonder what's going on, who's in the conversation, that I haven't gotten educated in yet, which, to be perfectly honest, I hope I'm never involved in the challenge. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was what you mentioned, Alex, that was really interesting. That was really interesting. I'm a fan of everyone involved. I think that whoever that wine guy was, sorry, please excuse me, I don't remember the name, but whoever the wine guy was, was there as a supporting role and was there to just fill up time. I think that there's just a tad bit of responsibility though when you're a manager, what I mean? And I do think, and again, listen guys, I do talk as if like I really do take it seriously. It's just because I do, and I'm not trying to talk shit or whatever. All I'm saying is that I think that this is still a game, and you are still trying to get points for your team. And I think that, if I was the Barbarians manager, I would jump in and I'd say, okay, well, listen, it sounds like this needs to be another question, because I could say Lethal Weapon 2, but wait, Lethal Weapon 3. The problem with what happened, I feel, was you mentioned 2 movies. You just mentioned 2 movies. Right? You're not saying Rooster Cogburn as if you're remembering a character, right? In your answer, you are mentioning 2 films. So you got to take you got to see what you first said. And I do agree, or I do see where it came from. I think it was so quick of Sam Levine, who I'm such a fan of, so quick to jump in and be like, this is not, we did not hear a ruling. We did not even hear a countdown. You know what I mean? And that was when a real manager really stepped in. You know what I mean? And I literally would say, listen, if you guys accept that it was a mistake, I'll accept that it was a mistake. But it's not like he said, oh, it's a Western, True Grit. Right? You said 2 titles. It's not the Goblet of Fire, Deathly Hallows. It's almost, and there is a little bit of the cadence of answering the question Rooster Cogburn and that kind of thing. Now, like I said, huge fan of everybody, amazing, brilliant players, but that was something that popped into my time. And if it's one of those things where just ask another question. I would be totally cool if you asked another question. But if I heard a movie where I saw that the competitor was confident at least in answering it, then we all got to assume that was his first answer.
Yeah. I was like, I know I think Guy mentioned it in that episode that it's only in singles in particular where they don't say, is that your final answer? In all the other leagues, in IG, Star Wars, in teams, they say, is that your final answer? Singles is different. And I'm not sure entirely if that's true or not, but that's something he said, something along those lines, that singles is the only one that allows that. So if that's the case, that's definitely a conversation to be had. I do think that Ty Lieberman, as his faux manager person, supporter, also he was like very, very much like, I don't know.
I was hoping I wasn't going to get this situation. So
I was told about this like 20 minutes ago. I don't know.
And I don't blame him. And I don't blame him one way. Like I would not want to be in his position. Yeah.
I was very surprised that Craig, his reaction. I expected him to fight it a little bit more. Or maybe he did and they cut it out. I don't know. But his reaction to it was just like, yeah, well, let's just see what they have. Meanwhile, he's stroking Elvis. I'm like,
yeah.
But speaking
interesting, very, very interesting. And that's why it's the little intricacies, right? Of the game, and I think the MVP of that particular moment was Sam Levine for sure. You know what I mean? Whether you agree, whether you agree with the ruling or not, Sam Levine, just like my manager, would jump in and raise the roof and literally try to make a point to the for their player.
Right. Speaking of challenges and stuff like that, we have a comment over from Ben Rayner coming in from YouTube. We have his comment saying, every time I hear a challenge in a match, all I can think of is the scene in The Lion King where Scar says, "You dare challenge me." Great moment.
Challenge me.
Yes.
The Jeremy Irons voice.
Oh, yes.
Give me a Jeremy Irons voice in anything. I just give it to me.
Jeremy Irons to have his own slice. Like, I'm very surprised that hasn't happened yet, to be honest.
Just
saying. There's a lot of movies up there. We also had another stream. We had a Streamlabs recently from Ferris. So thank you so much, Ferris. We really appreciate it. He says, no question. Just want to tell David that it was awesome seeing him in the live production of Grease because it was one of my favorites. And seeing you, I had a holy shit moment. David Del Rio.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you, Ferris. Yeah, I mean that was one of those shows that, even as a musical theater kid, you think, oh wow, I'm actually a T-Bird. I got the T-Bird badge. And it's quite an honor. And it was a factory, where you divide, 12-hour days, first 4 acting, second 4 dancing, third 4 is singing. And what I found really fascinating about what Mark Platt, Adam Siegel, who are the producers, and Tommy Kail, who's the director, we went straight into run-throughs the first week. Even if we had the script in our hand, we went, even if a song wasn't, learned, even if there are no dances learned or no choreography learned, they really wanted to jump us into doing the full production from beginning to end, no matter how unprepared we were. So then by the time we did the live show, it was just another run-through. And I thought that mentality was just a really, really great thing that they did with the actors. And I had a really, really, great time. And I'll always be grateful for that project.
Wasn't Lin-Manuel Miranda involved somehow?
No, it was just Tommy Kail that was who directed In the Heights, the Broadway show, and actually he directed me. He directed me in In the Heights on Broadway. So Grease was our second project together, and so he was on it. And then David Corrins, who is the set designer of Hamilton and Beetlejuice the musical, and all that stuff, he was part of the production design for Grease Live. So a lot, and also a lot of like the dancers and the ensemble, they came from Hamilton, some of them, and then most of them went on to do Hamilton for the tour or on Broadway. But it really was In the Heights, a Lin-Manuel starting community that was really involved, and that was when Hamilton was really at its height. So I remember going up to Tommy and I was just like, listen, dude, you don't have to pay me. Just, I'm sure 2 tickets of Hamilton will suffice, because that'll be just right. That'll be just right in the equal. And yeah, I mean, it was a really great, really great production. I was really lucky to be a part of it. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of love on Grease Live in chat, and I know earlier my lovely co-host Navu also happens to mention that's cool. But can you ask David about Pitch Perfect, please?
Oh boy. So I am a treble maker. I am an original treble maker. I am oh my God, what's his name? Colio, who has the fedora on all the time. And so it was Skylar Astin's character and my character who were accepted into the group. That was
guys, we're changing the entire episode. We're gonna talk about this. Okay, fuck Schmoedown. We're talking about Perfect. We're gonna talk about that riff off in the pool.
That project was the riff off in the pool. That was a real.
I love that.
Yeah, that was a real night. That was a real night shoot. That was definitely a real night shoot, and. Yeah, that was a great project. Still have a lot of great friends from there, because we were looking around at each other, kind of going, this is working, right? Like this is working, and it feels like it's working. We're not just kind of like overthinking it or whatever, and never did any of us think that it would be the smash that it was today. And there's no right way to get apart. There's no strategy to it. This had to be my 3rd or 4th project by that time that I replaced somebody late in the game. Someone got cast in something, I don't know who. And my first day of rehearsal was their 3-week presentation to Universal and to the producers or whatever. So that they have known each other and worked on the dances and music for 3 weeks. And so I got the job, and they said, you're flying to Baton Rouge the next day. And they prepped me very well, because on the plane, I'm hearing all the music, and one side is all the treble makers, and then the other ear was just my part. So it had to get to a point of just repetition and repetition and repetition. And then they sent me a Dropbox video of all the dances, and it was all the treble makers and one girl. And they said, look at the girl, follow her.
That's smart.
It was too organized for me not to take it, not to be like coming into the first day and going, guys, I just landed, and that kind of thing, right? So it was a very loud hotel night that night, and singing and dancing and trying to be prepared for the next day. And yeah, it was fun. That was my first experience in tailgating. Never heard of it. Didn't know the concept. So I went to a lot of LSU games, and by the time it was 5 and we were there since noon, they said, all right, let's go to the game. And I was like, what? we still gotta go do a game. You know, like that was just really my experience. I was like, I'd rather just go for the party, and then if the game starts, that's it for me. You know, I spent my day, so that was a nice introduction to that. But yeah, Pitch Perfect is really, really close to my heart, and I have amazing friends out of it.
We're just gushing out of that moment with it. I love the story. Yes, Nancy, I'm there with you. I was about to, if somebody didn't pull that comment up, I was going to. I'm just so enamored with it, and I think this is probably one of my favorite parts. And when we get in people who are having these just the lovely stories, you can tell the passion behind it is always just so very intense about it. And that's that's for me. I'm like, I'm just a fan in this one, and I'm also supposed to be. So.
I'm so happy my baby hair just sprung. I don't know why. Like, it just stays.
Well,
it's gonna be for the rest of the night.
And Alex is starting a trend. And have you done the one baby? Have you done the one baby hair? Yeah, I love that. I'll join you. I'll join you at least a little one baby hair somewhere.
Right now, I'm trying to get. I can get it this
somewhere.
Wait, what's this?
I know it's not sing. Oh, wait a minute. I got a singular. It's a little singular here.
All right.
It's got to be singular. There it is. There it is.
Gravity defies me yet again.
Well, you had a little Nickelodeon's Doug action going on there with that one strand. Yeah.
Well, David, something I'm kind of curious. We're going to be diving into your match here in a hot second.
Yes.
Specifically, is that I know for a lot of working actors that also participate in Schmoedown, or just like people actually really work in Hollywood in general. Ethan Irwin, for example, Brandon Meyer, the kid. Being working actors, I'm kind of, and as well as yourself, like I'm kind of curious if you would ever get a question that's like asked regarding your movies. Like, are you ever going to be asked who directed Pitch Perfect?
I hope not.
Is there like a memo that goes around like don't ask questions?
I'm sure.
Their history, their filmography, or whatever they've worked on. Like Ethan Irwin can't put, like, hypothetically, if Guy Ritchie became a Slice, he can't put Guy Ritchie.
I don't know. There's an argument
with Guy Ritchie.
Kevin Smith gets his own movies as a whole.
I know. That's I was thinking about that.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like, is there a low key like a conversation where it's like, hey, don't ask Ethan Irwin about Lock, Stock, and Barrel or whatever.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I mean, I wouldn't know. I think, as I said earlier, I don't want to get involved in any challenges, that seems like an easy challenge to, or a hard challenge to debate.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can come up with some lie. It would be like, who directed Pitch Perfect? Jason Moore. Oh my God, that's his name. But that's the best I can do in that kind of thing. And of course, if that was the challenge, I was like, yes, I have no arguments, no arguments.
I do want to clarify, like, to people in the chat, I don't think it should be a rule book, because I was just like wondering. I mean, like I would be curious to see if someone would be like, well, if that would ever be brought up. Just I mean, like,
right.
Like especially with with Newman, he's been in a handful of movies and everything as well. I doubt they're gonna ask what actor did Tom Cruise shove into a wall in a one.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the kind of question that you throw in there. Like, you throw that challenge out on a 5 and you just haven't used your challenge, and you're like, why? How is that fair? How is that fair?
Right.
Question. So, right. Like, that's about the best way to get out of it.
See the Ethan Irwin wheel on a slice. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Right. Like, Ethan Irwin in the power position.
And again, I don't. And listen, I'm there to play the game. So I would even milk that. I don't care if it's like the first question. I'll milk all my JTE on that. Oh, Jason Moore, just to make it entertaining. Just to make it entertaining.
Was it Justin? Justin?
Jeremiah?
Was it Annette Kendrick? I don't think so. That kind of thing.
Austin.
Right.
I do remember this actor was a rebel. She was Rebel Wilson. And
I
she was,
think she's
and
from
she, and she,
France or something.
well, here's another thing I'll tell you. You know, it was really a master class watching Adam, Divine, and Rebel just go at it. You know, you know, we have sides every day, kind of lets us know what we're doing that day, and some of the sides sometimes would be blank when it had to do with those two actors, because they don't go to script. You know, they just go, you know, back and forth. And I always remember anytime that it's a scene with both of them, the whole cast, whole crew, sit back, get their popcorn, and see what magic happens. It was just always fascinating to see. You see a blank page and you're like, oh yes, what time is this one? What time is this scene gonna happen?
Right.
And yeah, that was it's magic. It's magic to see them.
I'm just waiting for them to have a variety show. Like that would be the best. I would love
It would
that.
be the best. That's a great idea.
Like I remember when Maya Rudolph and
Martin Short
had their variety show for like a hot minute, and I was like, it's so great, and they took it away. But because variety shows don't really aren't very popular anymore all that much, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But again, back to this match in particular, you played spectacularly well, and you haven't played in a very long time now. To go into this match, you were actually I don't know if you were traded technically.
Well, it was, I think dropped and then picked up. Yeah, because a trade.
I was dropped. I mean, I was dropped. You know.
So I guess that being said, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, your brief, you know, episode on the Den before, you know, arriving to the dungeon on the, you know, I mean, we'll get there narratively, but I think everybody's very curious behind the scenes from your perspective, how it felt for being on the Den, seeing it all played out, and literally what felt like minutes later after ending up in the dungeon, getting another match. You know, I want to hear your perspective. What was your journey through that?
I don't blame anybody for you know for this for whatever happened. I was just confused. You know, I was just kind of like, oh, I got picked up. And then I just didn't even know if matches were still happening. But then my curiosity peaked when I saw the free-for-all get posted on YouTube. And I'm like, there's a lot of people that are making their debuts here. And I just, you know, just reach out and literally, guys. I mean, I was not mad. I don't, you know, I'm a very annoying optimist. That's just who I am. And I just was just asking, hey, what's going on? And I guess I just wasn't involved in the planning of it. And then and then I got an email that I got dropped, and I was just like, hey, it's okay. You know, I was just wondering whenever I was going to get a match, you know. That's just the position that I was in. And then Kaiser and I actually have known each other for a couple of years. And I even remember that I had my first match, and I even told him that I had a match in this movie trivia show. And he goes, oh yeah, my friend Christian runs it. And so it was just one of those things that then I saw him a couple of years later involved, and I would text him going, oh my God, it's so cool to see you there, you know. And then we ran into each other in a match, you know, and then we just kind of got connected again. And he just texted me out of the blue, and he goes, hey, I heard about this. What do you think about joining the dungeon? And I was just like, I just want to play. Like, I'll go with anyone who will take me. But it, you know, as I said in my post interviews, you know, considering the company I'm with, I'm very, very lucky that Kaiser picked me up. And I guess I'm kind of glad to show my teammates, you know, that I can help garner some points for the league, for that team. That is the dungeon. And then, you know, having a coach, that was a first experience for me. You know, having a manager, excuse me, and a coach, I would say, because John and I jumped on the phone and really went at it. just really, really went at it, and he was just asking me questions nonstop, and I was just walking around in the lobby of a hotel like a crazy person, just answering questions, and that was kind of the thing that I was kind of like hoping for, that I was looking forward to, and no hard feelings. I don't even think about that. I didn't even think about it then, because again, I just didn't know. I just didn't know how the structure worked. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like with every match that was being posted on YouTube or any other social media or any other video media platform. I was like, wait, when's mine? Why am I not getting a call? I was just kind of curious, and only because I just didn't know how the brackets work. I didn't know how they chose these matches. I don't know how they chose people to, which people to compete until like maybe the very end, of kind of like really just gaining their matches and gaining their wins. I just didn't know any of that. So I just kind of assumed that there was something happening within the foundation that it just didn't fit for me. I just emailed to kind of like remind that I was still there. I was still involved, and when's the match? And it was just really, really as simple as that.
Right.
Just goes to show how there's different managers have very different styles of managing, obviously, and their involvement. Because there are some managers out there, such as Simon Levine, that's kind of vocal about how he's not as super involved when it comes to the competitors, when it comes to actual training. And he's very upfront about it, where he's like, hey, I drafted you because I know you're self-reliant. You don't need me over your shoulder to make sure you're doing your thing, that you're studying, you're watching your matches and everything. I am here if you need help, but we're not going to have like a weekly study session kind of thing. Now, compared to someone like Kaiser, he is all up in your shit. And I say that with a lot of love. And I think Kaiser is a really great manager, and I'm very grateful to have him in Schmoedown. Obviously, running the dungeon is like perfect for him, because he is, when it comes to managing, I think he's really solid when it comes to challenges and everything. But he's also incredibly passionate and very vocally supportive of all of his competitors, especially of competitors I want to play versus competitors I kind of want to take a back seat. Because there's Schmoedown, there's both competitors. There's both types. Some that do want to take that back seat, which is totally fine, and some that are like studying all the time and doing drills and practice matches and everything all the time.
Right. And I think something that, David, you can probably appreciate about Kaiser, seeing that again, the flavor of the faction is so very different. Kaiser has a very sense of heel to himself, while you are also being a respectful, like very, passionate, player and fan of the game, so to speak. I think it's fun that Kaiser can kind of keep the tone of his faction while still having players like you who are, don't necessarily have to like badmouth or insult or have to play the heel, so to speak. You can sit there and still be David Del Rio and still rep the faction in such a great way, with Kaiser kind of doing that balance. But it does have me ask, does that ever leave you in a moment where you're like, no, I kind of want to like, let me heal it up next match. Let me be a little bit more of a bad guy. This is kind of like the scene I'm in, like, or do you want to hold to that, true respectful David Del Rio persona?
I'm not interested in playing a character. Playing a character is my job, and it's a sport to me, really.
Right.
And so I'm, you want to get to a point of being content with what you kind of want your persona to be in different entertainment, mediums. Exactly. So, I'm really content with just coming in and playing the game. And, it's also not to say that I've had enough experiences in my life where people really get annoyed with my respect and my positivity, and that strategy is their fault and not mine, but it sometimes works for me in the game. So but that being said, I'm for me personally, I'm just not interested in playing a character. I just really, really love the game. I really do.
leave that to Kaiser, leave that to the manager
Right.
to do all that stuff.
And here's the other thing too. What I will say about that as well, which is, it's how can I say this? It's nice to have my first experience with a manager that's as you described, in your shit.
Right.
Because that's, I feel like that was kind of like the stars aligning for me, kind of stepping in and kind of just him making sure that I'm on it was a really great, at least introduction to coming into a team and, experiencing what it's like to be, with a manager.
Well, when it comes to preparing for a match, did you prepare for this match any different versus previous matches now that you have a manager like Kaiser?
Definitely. I mean, it was a lot more structured in the study session. It was talking about stats. It was talking about strengths and weaknesses from players, and Kaiser does his research, which was really nice to see too. Because that I don't do, but now with this last match, now that I am sort of part of a group, now that I have a manager, now that these different teams and leagues are gaining points based on, the wins and all that stuff, it's nice to also be reminded, hey, great match. Here's what I think you should work on. And that's always nice. That's always nice to hear.
So very much about, right. Very much okay, but here's what's next. Right. And
totally, I always think of what's next, just President Josiah Bartlett style, what's next, and, it was, it's nice to get that too. He's like, oh, we'll talk about, he really complimented me and was very happy with that match, as was I. And he, just like, oh my God, great match. Let's talk about how you're going to study next time. And I was like, fuck yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
Circle lobbying the time.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't circle enough. Obviously I needed to do a lot better. So, but yeah, I mean, listen, I'm happy to be part of the dungeon. Just happy to be a part of it. And, yeah, I'm just really excited to be there.
And I imagine that has to be like, very, as we're talking about Kaiser kind of being in your shit, that's kind of one of those inspiring things though, is that PC gets that reference. Nice. So, coming off of, and no disrespect to the den or anything like that, it just felt, it was more hands-off style, so to speak. So Kaiser kind of leaping back into it. I feel like for you, it's probably very validating to sit there and say, oh, wow, like, people know I'm we really know I'm here, and just to have that quick turnaround for a match that we can pretty much get into. I know we're not going to go super deep in the breakdown just because we're not that full on stats stuff and things like that. Make sure to tune into After Action Report for all the deep detailed stats also on this channel. But you go in and you clean up in the perfect first round. Welcome back, David Del Rio, buddy. That's
yeah, thanks. I guess I felt that I was just really just letting the questions come, and not really double thinking it. And, there's something that I do that is probably not, listen, what I love about this game is really depends on the questions. There are so many first matches. There are many first matches per season per player. Their first match of the season,
right?
Incredibly hard. And I was like, these are first round questions. I need to really, really step up. And I just had a match that was something that I just knew. And there's just something that there's something that I do, and it's not guaranteed to work every time because I know I'm going to get these hard matches in the future. I know I'm going to get shocking questions for question number one going, oh, this is not starting out very well. I know that's going to happen. I plan on for that not to happen, but you never know. But there's something that I do. I just close my eyes and I just listen to the question. Mm-hmm. And every question that's asked, I just want to listen to it. And I just want to make sure that it's it's encompassed in my brain, and I know that it's there, and solid that it's there. And that first match was, lucky stars, and the stars were aligning that match.
Right. Leo in the chat, by the way, points out the bonus question David misses relates to two of his faction mates whose name is named after a song from Top Gun, obviously Danger Zone. Or The Danger Zone, right? Actually, no, it's a the in front of it. They wanted us, they're very, very specific about that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I would have not got that one just because I didn't even know Tim Robbins was in the movie. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that, who was the actor that they were talking about? Tom Skerritt. Tom Skerritt was one. Tom Skerritt, it was one where that really threw me off because I was kind of like, Alien and Steel Magnolias. That's kind of it, and also another movie later. But yeah, so Tom Skerritt was one that there it is, Poison Ivy. There it is. Tom Skerritt really kind of tripped me up on that one.
Yeah.
I heard that and I was like, that doesn't feel like a 1-pointer.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's the bonus question stuff. They want to make it a little bit spicier. Man, the question writers are killing it with really pulling the peripherals. They're really making it feel like you got to know that movie very well inside and out.
Well, something I'm kind of curious about going into round 2 in particular. Obviously, you do make the choice to defer. And so your opponent, Frank Moran, ended up getting opponent's choice. And you had a little back and forth between with you and Kaiser, obviously, and you ended up choosing Anne Hathaway. Why Anne Hathaway? Or do you not want to divulge that information?
No. I think I'll just say that research showed that was going to be the right one for him. Matches, questions, stuff that it was iffy about was one of those things that felt really comfortable to kind of give. And then, Anne Hathaway does about 3 movies a year, and one of them slipped through the cracks. And so therefore her filmography is really varietable, and also it's almost a different audience. She tries to achieve a different audience every film, and you kind of notice that. So yeah, we felt comfortable with Anne Hathaway.
I kind of disagree, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah.
But for me, it was like, it's more like, because I actually do think it was a very smart play, just because I feel like I've never heard, I don't remember him in particular doing well in Anne Hathaway questions overall, or actors and actresses in general. But she actually has a very small filmography. She's been in Hollywood for over 20 years, which is bonkers. She's made less than 15 movies total. And
what?
So yeah, she's
wow.
Yeah, if you look at her IMDb page, it's I remember looking and I was like, wow, is that 14 movies total? Really?
Well, I'll definitely take that disagreement, only because it just feels like she's got Serenity and then another big movie, she's got One Day. Yeah, she's got One Day, whatever that movie's called, with her and Tom Sturridge.
Yeah, she plays a therapist, and she's Passengers or something like that, where she's for ghosts or something.
Yeah.
Ella Enchanted.
I guess I always thought Passengers was met with another big one. You know what I mean? Or another, Interstellar. I don't know. Yeah. Right. Yeah, you know what I mean? But yes, that's good to know.
In particular, if in theory, it can be a very easy category to ace, but you do run the risk of having deeper dive questions, obviously. So that's why I was a little curious, because I was maybe he's actually really confident in that category, or whatever it may be, because you chose it.
I'm very comfortable with actors. I don't know how many people are like exposing their, like what they're actually smart in this place. I don't know if people want to like research the show the next time they play me. But however, I think categories in terms of actors, that's something I'm very comfortable with.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think that makes sense considering your work and all things considered. That probably isn't something that is exactly a D-Cup reference. That they're like, oh, David Del Rio is secretly good with actors. Like,
right.
I would imagine that you could just probably keep up and know, what you do, and they should at this point, all things considered. But,
yeah.
All that aside, we get into the round threes, we get into the wins, and So I personally am very invested, not only in just this match, but you winning David Del Rio, because you're on my fantasy roster as of right before this match. I drafted you on the mine. So,
wow.
Yes, big victory for both of us. Thank you, David. But first win in the single, this is the first one, correct? Or am I imagining that? Right? Yeah, because it was
like ever
or this season. Sorry, yeah.
I mean, this is my first match of the season, so yeah.
So coming back in, how does it feel to not only come back in, but also be winning, being back in, and now we're in all these big talks of singles tournaments and coming up and all of that. I guess how hopeful do you feel about just the upcoming future? And I know you don't really get to decide that.
Can we get you on a team? That'd be dope.
Right? Oh gosh.
Yeah. I want to keep playing. That's all I can say. And if they find if they think that I can be a good competitor and I can give a good show, then I'd be more than happy. I will be more than happy to answer the call.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I do want to clarify, Nancy. You're totally right. It's definitely more than like 15 or 20 for sure. She has done a lot of TV and everything, and there's quite a few movies that, like, she did like Dark Waters, but I don't remember her in Dark Waters. But regardless, she has done quite a few movies for sure. So I stand corrected. And I'm waiting for this to come up, and I would love to see a Studio Ghibli slice, just saying, because she
her voicing
in The Cat Returns.
She did do that.
There's a lot of Oscar-winning actresses that have voiced characters in Studio Ghibli movies, but that's another conversation.
I have no idea what you're talking about, to be honest.
So the Japanese import films from Hayao himself on those ones, right? Yeah, Cat Returns, Spirited Away, that ballpark of movies.
Oh yes, yes.
My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service.
Got it.
Yeah.
Totally.
We're gonna have a conversation.
Yeah.
You didn't recognize
I just added so many movies on my list that I have to watch tonight, so that's good.
Yeah, I was about to say
on HBO Max. Just saying, just putting that up.
Oh, great! Yeah,
fresh on there. Paul says, Ghibli is overrated. Also, Paul, the most overrated person in and out of the Schmoedown ever. Paul, shut up, Paul. Shut up.
Fuck right off, Paul.
Right.
No. Nay. Mm-mm. You're not going to say that to two Asians on screen right now. Mm-mm.
Yeah. We've got feelings on those three letters that somehow is also a person. Paul, quit trying to be a symbol, okay? You're not Prince. It's not going to happen. Stop it. So, sorry, David. We're obligated both contractually and because we wrote it into our contracts to roast Paul any chance we get.
Great.
That takes down Paul's tastes. Anyway, so... we're getting close to time, so I want to do a little bit of wind down thoughts and things like that. David, I do want to sit here and ask though. So obviously you want to play, you want to get more into it. Ever the optimist. Let's say magic wand, you have all the power, all the control, all the things that you could be doing. Would you be strictly relegated to team or singles, and then maybe even teams, or would you ever want to explore into any of the IG categories? God forbid a Star Wars category, or
you can add IG categories into singles or teams. Just
right. Right, because I was about to say IG categories slip in from time to time. Is your passion strictly in maybe just the singles level division, or do you ever want to get into more specialized side?
No, I definitely want to get into teams. I think that's and as far as I go, got to definitely brush up on IG's categories and thematic games such as those. However, singles, team. I think what I love about teams is, again, I told you, and as you just said, being a lover of the game, sharing the field, with a like-minded individual and kind of vibing off each other. And, you know, when you miss a question that kind of hurts the team, you kind of like get pumped up again. And, you know, after you say you're sorry, you know, that kind of thing, you know, yeah. What I really would love to do though, is I'd love to be in a free-for-all because it reminds me of like what my favorite video game. I don't play many video games. I didn't even as a kid, but the WWE SmackDown PlayStation 1 or even PlayStation 2, where you drag the person, you throw them out of the ring, and then
Royal
you
Rumble.
wait.
Yeah.
The Royal Rumble, yeah. And
Yes.
then you kind of wait which character you're going to be. And then all of a sudden, you know, you got the bad, you know, the graphics of like the Undertaker running like this coming into say, and you're like, oh my God, the Undertaker, you know, it kind of reminds me of that. And I love and I also love the games, the number system. I love the, you know, if I answer this question, I either take the whole table out or, you know, or it's just someone else is answering. I'm affected in that way. I love that. I love that. And so that is something that I'd love to be really a part of.
What do you think is it about? I know you kind of talked about how the format in particular is something that you really just thoroughly enjoy, being on screen with so many awesome people, and obviously answering questions in a different format than usual as well. But what else is it about the free-for-all in particular? Because you brought it up several times tonight, that a free-for-all is just something that one of the events that you thoroughly enjoy as a fan.
They bring the drama. You know, it's not only about the questions and it's not only about the answers and the knowledge. You know, and
also no challenges.
Right.
Sorry?
There's no challenges.
Yeah. And there's no challenges. And there's no JTEs, right?
None.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Unless there's like an IT issue or something. But
it's just raw. You know, it's just movie trivia Schmoedown raw. You know, it's just, well, you know, you're looking up on the screen and you're on the edge of your seat that anybody but Bibiani, obviously, but like even the last one, Bibiani was just at the wrong question at the wrong time.
Right.
And that's just part of the theatricality that I love. And, you know, kind of, and then of course, hopefully soon enough, we get to do it with an audience. You know, I just love the whole theatricality, and that's a lot of hands I'm going to shake when I get to a free for all, and there should be a lot of hand sanitizer on that stage by the time I get there. But I just feel it's like the theatricality of it, and it's a point system game, and that, you know, when you're watching, you're not just watching who gets it right and who gets it wrong. There's many stories in every match. If this happens, this will happen. If he or she answers wrong, then this happens. He or she answers right. There's just a little mini story and drama in each stage that I really love.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely agree. Not to mention something I find very fun about it is that it's a really great mixture of IG as well as like everything else, obviously, movie release dates, actors and actresses, plots. And a lot of the questions are not just one-pointers. There are two and the occasional three-pointer as well. And so,
occasional three-pointer,
I mean, there was like, I remember this most recent free-for-all, an IG player completely wiped the table with really great competitors. Roka was on the table, Bibbs was on the table, and a random rookie IG player wiped the table.
I remember that. And that was bonkers, right? And so, and by the way, that happened in minute 28. You know what I mean? Where you just don't know what's going to happen, and then wait, let me just rewind that one more time and see you know how the heck that happened. And the fans were screaming by that time, and people were shocked. And so I like the Royal Rumble of it all, and exactly what you said. I'll tell you this: that is the one that I play as if I'm at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you kind of put your answers and you kind of put your points in. You know what I mean? And I think the last one, I was like 4 matches. Four rounds, and I was like, well, that was fun. That was fun. And I'm out. Thanks for having me. But yeah, that's one that I'm really invested in.
It's the magic of the free for all, and I guess my closing thoughts on that before we start to do plugs and all that fun stuff is that you're right, David. I think that there, especially for a player like you, again, who isn't as focused on being a character in movie trivia, Schmoedown, but there's this opportunity to just kind of have its own natural narratives come out of play. Brendan Myers being such a star on the first one he debuted in really led to him and Bibbs creating their own storyline just because they had such a great time.
Great dynamic. Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's something that you couldn't have planned. You couldn't have wrote that. And just for that to organically be its own story in itself, I think, yes, we are all very eagerly, especially to wait for it whenever it's back in person, to see kind of how that all plays out. And that's gonna be a fun time whenever we're back full online on events and stuff like that. But that's obviously But all good things must come to an end, and I'm afraid this episode is beginning to do its wind down. David, anything to plug? Anything to look forward to? What should we be looking out for? What's going on in David's?
Sure. So I have a feature film that I directed. It's a horror comedy called Roadhead, and it's on Amazon Prime and Tubi. And Vudu, I believe. I don't know. It's so funny. When it came out, it was just like VOD. I was like, I don't know. There's VOD is just a vast terminology. And then, I'm on an ABC show called Maggie that will premiere. It's on ABC and it'll premiere somewhere in the early spring.
Fantastic.
That's very exciting. Yeah. And now we got another thing to put on my Amazon wish list on watches. Now we got that fresh. The good VOD ones and stuff like that, or comedy. I love the mixture of those two. I just love those two genre mix-ups in general. So I'm very eager about that.
I'm excited. I'm definitely excited about it too. It's one of those stories that kind of ask you, can you live in the moment if you can see the future? And it really just tests sort of those boundaries, and it's just a really nice romantic comedy. And I'm really lucky to be a part of just a feel-good romantic comedy.
I love rom-coms.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one movie trivia question?
Oh my god. Okay, go ahead.
It's not a hard one, I promise.
Okay.
Okay, but I always want to ask like a competitor, because I write a ton of questions, but I always love to see how they like the questions or hate the questions. Okay. But okay. Cool. Oscar winners Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet play sisters in what 90s romance?
That would be Sense and Sensibility.
Correct.
Whew. Oh my god!
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
And what a director! What a fabulous director, and what a varietable career that he's had. And I always look forward to his films.
Why he doesn't have a slice is beyond me.
Ooh, and he should. He definitely should. It's just so funny when you ask you movie trivia. That was the one that made me sweat for some reason. I was like, oh my god!
It's because you don't expect it. That's it. Versus something you do expect it.
Oh, true. Yeah, true. But yeah. Okay, cool. Can I ask you one?
Yeah, shoot.
Oh, you see, you didn't expect that. Okay, so
I'm horrible. I'm into it.
Okay. Let me say something that I just saw. Okay. Who played Shmee to Dustin Hoffman's Hook in Steven Spielberg's film Hook?
Bob Hoskins.
Very done. Well done.
AKA Mario from Super Mario Brothers. Wow.
Yeah. And that's
also
how you start.
One of my favorite detectives in history from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
My wife still hasn't seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I just can't wait to show it to her.
It's my favorite movie from the 80s.
It's my favorite kids movie that's not for children, but I definitely watching it several times as a child.
I remember seeing it as a kid too. Going,
Same.
This ain't funny.
I rewatched it a couple of years ago, and I remember thinking, like,
subtext here.
Right? I'm like, why did my mom let me watch this? She was not proof for watching any of these stuff.
No. Christopher Lloyd though.
And, like, she saw like everyone.
Yeah. Christopher Lloyd though at the end, like his eyes popping out and doing that screaming. Fabulous performance. The dip.
Christopher Lloyd is genuinely terrifying in that movie.
Yeah, killed it.
And he wanted to turn the highway.
And that was almost one of those roles. I'm sorry, I know we were wrapping up, but that was one of those roles that, once I was really getting into, cinephilia, was one of those roles where I was like, what? But how?
The same person, this and this and this person, right?
Yeah, he really disappeared into that role where I was like, no, that's not the guy from Rent-A-Kid.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all movies, wow!
I love it. Hoskins, man, that was a crazy run on that. Yeah, Mario Brothers, Hook, and then on that.
He was also he really was the. He kind of reminds me of like John Turturro. He's the guy you can always call to kind of, to either lead a film and do fantastic in it, and he's fantastic in everything, but like be a lead in a film or just be part of the ensemble because he always elevates it. And him and being Shmee is one of those really perfectly, and Mario, by the way, just real perfect marriage of intellectual properties and a really respected actor to really get the job done.
I saw him recently in a movie called Mona Lisa. I think it was like a British movie.
Ooh.
But that movie was a hard watch. That was like, but he pretty much plays a chauffeur and bodyguard to a dominatrix prostitute in South London or something like that.
That's right.
Meanwhile, he's helping her rescue her ex-girlfriend. Trying to get off drugs and everything. It was weird, but I just remember watching him in it, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
So I think he got nominated. I think that was his only nomination. And what I really, there we go. Right. Really, what was great about that performance, and I saw that, I don't know, like 4 years ago or something. What really stuck out about that performance is how great he was at being naive. Mm-hmm. How great he was about being a little dumb, and you felt for him. Yes, you really felt for him, and I think Neil Jordan directed that movie. I could be wrong, but the way that movie really led to this gangster or the chauffeur, gaining a heart and not saying no to the opportunities in front of him. Whether they were good or bad opportunities, and him just being confused the whole way. I mean, it really was just a really heartfelt, heartbreaking, and really well-rounded performance by him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It was a weird one. It's not a movie I'm excited to watch again, but he was pretty fantastic for sure. It's a weird movie to watch spontaneously on a Saturday night for sure.
Right. Especially when you
I have no idea what it's getting into.
Yeah.
But I don't really do all too much over here down in DC. You can also find me co-hosting a show called Cinema Bias, where actually, David, we actually would love to have you on, and we can cover actually your movie, where Video Drew and I really do a deep dive into a movie one or both of us have not seen. And so this movie, for the past few weeks, we've actually been diving into, I can't remember his name. He's a writer, director. Help me, David. He directed Wild Mountain Time. He won an Oscar for Moonstruck for Best Picture.
Yeah, John Patrick Shanley.
Yes, thank you. We've been diving into these movies. We're actually this coming Tuesday. We're going to be watching the movie Doubt. He's directed like 3 or 4 movies total, and he directed Joe vs. Volcano, Doubt, and Wild Mountain Time. So what a crazy filmography! But he also is like known for being a really crazy. He wrote Congo. He wrote We're Back.
What a diverse background.
Did he also write Moonstruck?
He won an Oscar for Best Writing for Moonstruck. Yes. But
Yeah,
he's a crazy career.
Yeah, he's a fantastic playwright. You know, I've seen Doubt on stage, which is thunderous.
Which he wrote.
Yeah, which is just thunderous to watch. And Doubt is one of those movies like The Master where you kind of go, everybody wants to, we want to see some actors just really go for it, right? And then we just, you know what I mean? Where there's movies you want to see the characters, and for me particularly, there's just movies where you kind of get all the all-star players in the same court, and you just want to immerse in every good choice, bad choice that you wouldn't do. You know, of course, it's really invested into the actor, and I think Doubt is one of those things. I mean, I've always been a fan. One of my favorite movies is Glengarry Glen Ross, and I've always been a fan of play adaptations on screen. You know,
play, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
But yes, we would love to have you on Cinebias.
Please, for sure.
We are gonna, like I said, we're gonna be covering Doubt on next Tuesday evening, and but yeah, and the next week after we're gonna be covering, because Drew has not seen it, which is boggling to me, and within the following week we're actually gonna be covering Joe vs. Volcano, which I have not seen, so it's gonna be a fun one.
That's great. Well, you know, let me know. Definitely love to talk about film for sure.
As far as my plugs go, don't got a whole lot. I'm on Twitch Tuesdays every Tuesday. Make sure to tune in over on our Twitch channel. That is Call to Action Twitch. We talk about everything and nothing. We I actually can't say what we've been making a segment out of, because if Kelsey ever watches the content, then she'll get mad at us. But that's an inside joke. Tune in to find out what we're talking about on that week. But make sure to tune in Twitch Tuesdays, guys. That's going to be coming up tomorrow. At what time is that? Oh, that's 6 CST. No, sorry, 6 PST, because everybody believes that's the real time. 8 Central for all of us in the middle of the country. Otherwise, guys, we're going to geek out more with David Del Rio, but we're going to do it off screen. Haha, we're monopolizing him. He's all ours now. We're going to wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another great episode of Call Live, where we got to do all this wonderful discussions. Much love, everybody. Hope you enjoy your holiday weekend. Get ready for the rest of this week. It's a shorter one, so we got that going for us. We'll see you next week. Later, guys.